waking up now. Waking up the night now slightly more familiar corridor of the girls' dormitory. I can hear the faint sound of laughter coming from the bed. It doesn't take long to identify the source as Lily's room, though the deep timbre of the female voice unmistakably belongs not to her but her sister. I rap my knuckles on the door with the usual 3 light taps, my hands barely retreating as the door swings open. Hey, Sal. Hey. Hello, Lily. Hanako. Hey, hello, Lily Hanako. Don't address no, never mind. Hanako looks up tentatively, her hands buried in her oversized pink nightgown. From her side, Lily turns sideways towards the direction of my voice and smiles. It'd be a flagrant lie to say I dislike the sight of her in those pajamas. I catch Akira giving me a sidelong look with her knowing grin, to which I reply with a sharp glare. She takes the hint and shrugs and walks back to the low table in the center of the room. As I go to join her, Lily gives me a nod of greeting and starts pouring me a cup of tea. It's nice to see you again, Hanako. You've been getting around recently. Lily wears a look of concentration as the light brown liquid, carefully measured by her finger, as always flows from the teapot into the cup. It seems Hanako has taken up helping one of the people in your class with newspaper club. Naomi, I think? Hanako gives it for me. Confirmative nod. Oh my god, really? Even after spending the 2 months in the class, I still have trouble remembering the names of the students I really talk with. It takes me a few mental contortions to connect the name with the face, but I eventually remember the girl I sit beside Hanako at the back of the seat. Naomi Inoue, a fairly average-looking girl except for bleached blonde hair. Given her upbeat and straightforward personality, Naomi may have been an opening to such poached Hanako for her club when she inquired about joining one. Oh my god, I'm so proud. Oh my god. Either way, it's nice to see Hanako broadening her horizons. When I first met her, the idea of her joining a club with anyone but Lily would have seemed utterly laughable. Oh my god. You don't realize how happy I am right now. I had to explain how you've been enjoying it. It's really interesting. As always, Hanako's far from being talkative. Some things never change, and it seems that Hanako's personality is one of them. She'll likely always be the one shying away from being overly social. Warned by the sound of the crockery against the table as Lily gently places my drink in front of me, I thank her and take a long sip. Hanako and Lily attending to their own, Akira quaffing a mug and strong-smelling black coffee. You're a lucky bastard to sell. Huh? I can't help grimacing at her teasing smile, still visibly around the edges of the mug pressed to her lips. Seeing my sister in her pajamas, there's a lot of men out there who'd like to be where you are. I'd seen a lot more than her, not that I admit it. Can you imagine? Oh my god. Oh, the reactions, just saying, oh yeah, you know, we did. I've seen more. Hanako's reaction and Akira's reaction. Akira? Hey, I'm just teasing. She leans over to me as much as she can, whispering with a sly grin written on her face. And Hanako too, you perv. Oh. Hey, it was your idea. We both look over to her face, turned to the ground, and her hands fidgeting in the lap of her nightgown. If it's a sow, I don't mind. If you heard that, that was my hands going into like a fist. Keep that. I know Hanako's altogether too innocent to bother reading too much into it, such a thing. But the expression Akira directs at me is positively stormy. Akira, please. Dude, look at... It seems Lily can sense Akira's sudden change in aura just as well as I, even without seeing it for herself. Akira slowly looks away from me like an attack dog leashed by its own owner in the nick of time. I breathe a sigh of relief. I can't think of a more appropriate time to try and change the subject around. If you don't mind me asking, Akira, what do you do for a living? I've never seen you out of the suit. Thinking about what to do with yourself after school's over, eh? I'm a lawyer. For the most part, I work in the legal department of the Japanese branch of our family's company. The most boring possible answer, I suppose. Law is a pretty dry topic to most people. Kinda. Oh wait, you're not supposed to agree. Lily gives an amused giggle while holding her teacup and saucer, and I'll go quickly joining her. This friendly atmosphere between everyone is something I'd missed while Lily and Akira were on the trip. All the dealing I had with Anako didn't help. I just didn't think not having Lily around changed the mood. It's nice to be back. I missed you, Sal, and you too, Anako. Same goes for the both of you. I'm guessing your classmates were happy to see you back. In a matter of speaking, yes. Akira's amused snort shows that she is well aware of Lily's attitude towards such figures of speech. I'd imagine she'd have to be, given how long they've been together. Did you have fun in Scotland? For a moment I wonder why she's asking. It hasn't been quite a while since they came back, but then I remember everything that happened. We've simply not had the time to look back at what with the exams and her Hokkaido trip. Oh god. Lily's face goes innocent for a moment, and the fact that Akira's reaction to looked over to her sister doesn't escape me. Nonetheless, she quickly collects herself. It was nice, we hadn't met her family in such a long time, so it was a wonderful reunion. Yeah, I guess that's right. Their house being beachside was the best part, though. From her dismissive tone, I get the feeling Akira doesn't like the family as much as Lily does. You only like that because you finally had time to play around. Just because I'm a better swimmer. I don't take after the athletic side of the family, that's all. Well, you can't take her hard in the fact that you got the height genes at least. And the bust gene. It's not really that right kind of thing to say around others. Though Lily pretends to scold Akira, she does sound with an unmistakable, slightly cheeky grin on her face. I doubt Akira really minds that, judging from her nonchalant expression. Well, I don't either. Hanako's looking down and blushing furiously beside me. The sisters' antics aside, their parents really do lead a bourgeois lifestyle. It seems utterly divorced from the life that Lily and Akira have lived until now. I suppose practicality must have made their decision for them. To have come from such a wealthy and well-connected lineage only adds to the almost noble air Lily seems to have, though. It's a small wonder none of it seems to have rubbed off into Akira. They really are little like as siblings could be. The only similarity seems to be the shared confidence, which can be both endearing and a headache at times. Most of the night continues much as the same, with Anako eventually leaving with Anako eventually leaving the Satala sisters and I to ourselves as she heads back to her dorm for the rest. For a while, only the barely audible sound from Lily's teacup saucer can occasionally be heard as she slowly drinks. The silence is strained as Lily and I wait for the elephant in the room to be addressed. So, Lily dutifully puts her cup down, giving her sister uninvited attention. With Lily and I on the side of the low table and Akira at the other, this almost feels like a judge passing down a verdict. I hear that you two are going out now. I glance sideways at Lily to confirm as the source of Akira's knowledge. She gives a gentle nod to Akira, which I mirror in affirmation. Deciding that it's proper time to do so, Akira being the closest figure to a parent Lily's had much of her life, I bow deeply with my hands on the floor for me and my head really nearly the same. I'll take good care of your sister, Akira. I promise you. See? He's a lovely young gentleman. She must have heard my voice coming from a lower position than usual. I slowly bring myself back up, my eyes tentatively looking to Akira from under my brow. To tell the truth, I very much doubt my suited judge will raise any objections. She's very definitely the type to make her disapproval with others well known. Something that only lends her a measure of respect in my eye. The old-fashioned kind, huh? Well, he's the kind of person I guess you'd go for. I don't have a problem with it. I wish you two the best, even if you didn't like it. I couldn't really do anything anyway. I offer a nod of appreciation to her as Lily gives a small sigh of relief, likely mostly out of duty than any actual belief that Akira might have had any problem with us being together. I do wonder though, how's the rest of the family taking it, particularly the part residing at Yamaku? Have you told her? What is up with that smile though? God, it's sort of freaky. The smile turns to a grimace, and Akira grins downright evilly. Close to know to how to twist the knife best, after all. Putting up with it may be the best term for the situation. Don't you agree, Sal? Yeah, that sounds about right. At least she's being reasonable about it. Good to hear. That girl can be a handful at the best of times. We sent a few messages back and forth during and just after the trip, and she was already busting my chops for seeing my boyfriend when we came back after leaving Hideki for so long. She really does care for you, for the little guy. I cast my mind back on Shizune's odd reaction while telling her about our relationship, but decided not to bring it up. It's no doubt simply born of their mutual antipathy, and Akira's comment only backed that up. Well then, that's settled. You gotta get back to work early tomorrow, so I'd better be off. She rises from the table with a grunt, her hand on her knee to push herself up. I noticed Akira's eyes lingering on Lily's for a couple of seconds before turning away as she begins to take her leave. After she walks out the door, she stops and looks up thoughtfully before turning us one last time. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to tell you. Use protection every time. Oh. Akira, you're amazing. I gag violently on the tea in my mouth. Contrary to my own, Lily's composure holds perfectly, as she seems entirely unfazed. I'm kind of impressed. I love you, Akira. You're amazing. We are, don't worry. Oh, atta girl. See ya. With that, she turns and strides out of the door. A hand held high as she disappears. It's dark in hallway, closing the door behind her. The most reaction I can muster in flopping forward on the table, completely drained of energy and truly exhausted by her. Lily's ability to hold her own against a suited devil is something I admire. She really is incredibly blunt. I don't think I'll ever be able to keep up with her sister's energy. As I feel Lily's soft hand come to rest on my own, I roll my head to the side to see her gently smiling. For a long time we slowly sit beside each other, silently. Given her unquestionably unusual height, she is pretty much entirely as tall as I am. Probably a couple of centimeters higher, if anything. Like this, she appears even taller. The feeling of her pale soft hand against mine is a pleasant one, as if the sight of this thin silken pajama she wears, showing her curves and collarbone. You do get on well though, even if you do say that. I guess, you know, you two are more alike than I first thought when I met you. Then, it's a good thing I quickly stopped you from going after her, isn't it? Yeah. Though she jokes about it, my assessment of my inability to keep up with Akira, either physically or mentally, was quite in earnest. Lily's slow-paced and ladylike, almost motherly nature is perhaps the single thing that helped me most in the first week at Yamaku. Come to think of it, wait, Since when were we using protection? I almost give a curious look to my side. They weren't using it, dude. Lily's cheeks puff out as she huffs at me. They weren't using protection. Unlike you, I remembered. The packet is in the cupboard next to the sink. So I'm not the only one of us that takes the pill. In hindsight, I feel rather thoughtless for not remembering it all and leaving it to Lily. Looking over to the cupboard she mentions, I noticed the knee-high piles of books around that were here the other times I visited. For such much part, they're lined up against the wall to give a little more room around the table. Why don't you get a bookshelf for your books? It's odd to see books just piling around, especially given the room that your room looks so neat and orderly otherwise. They're easier to find this way. I know exactly which pile each book is in. Wouldn't you still know after putting each set on a different shelf? That may be, but... So she's not immune to bouts of laziness after all. You have so many of them, it's kind of a shame we can't share book sets, despite both of us reading so much. She gives a short giggle. Come to think of it, why don't you order your books through Yuko? Or why do you order your books through Yuko? I imagine there'd be plenty of sites that you could order books in Braille from, especially in English Braille. There's a lot of text-to-speech programs too. She turns her head slightly away from me, one strikes me as somewhat surprising. I'm just not all that good with computers. I'm alright with typewriters and braillers, but that's about it. Her tone almost makes me chuckle. Her prideful person. She's a prideful person, so admitting that like that must be difficult. So, Lily's a low-tech kind of person. Given her old-fashioned personality, it's not really a stunning surprise. I wouldn't worry about it. A lot of people aren't really that good with them, so it's not that unusual. That's unusual. Now she seems even more depressed. It feels like I'm twisting the knife rather than healing her wounds. With a bit of squirming, I shuffle my way closer to her, tentatively putting one hand around her waist to hug her. I'm still not really used to this kind of physical affection, but Lily seems to like it. Oh. Lily smiles as she turns to face me, and kiss being the reward for giving it to her. She draws me in, brushing her upper lip with hers before pressing against both. This way even every one of my senses is filled with hers. A barely perceptible scent of her hair, her taste as her tongue leaning touches mine, the tenderness of her lips, the image of her filling mine, the total silence apart from her faint breath. We may have kissed before, but even if this is more of a kiss of simple affection than anything, it's still new and pleasant sensation. Dude, she's so cute. Judging by her vivid blush and as she pulls back, it's obvious she feels the same as I do. Even if we were entirely alone, it still feels a little embarrassing to open up to each other this much. If we take everything day by day, I think that would be best for small steps, right? Yeah, just small steps. We have plenty of time to be together, even after the school year is over. As long as we move together, I think everything will work out okay. Neither of us is going anywhere soon after all. For now, I'm just thankful for the small moment in time we can spend together. I stand unmoving in front of the door to the nurse's office for what it feels like a dozen minutes or so. It's not like I entered the small beige room before, nor is it because of any feeling of childlike anxiety over my visit. Maybe it's because the nurse's office is akin to a confessional, an admission that my body is flawed, The knowledge that such a fact is kept entirely confidential between the nurse and I hardly lessens the feeling. And remembering the bell, the signal at the end of lunch break will sound soon. I give a sigh and open the door. The burden will stay with me just a while longer. Well now, if it isn't Nakai, good to see you. Or bad, I guess, considering that I'm a nurse. He gives a small laugh, amused at his little joke. I find his humor lacking and somewhat off, but the fact that he can make it light of such a situation is perhaps comforting, or at least distracting. His brief episode of entertainment is over. He claps his hand together and gets down to business. I take a seat as he gestures for me to do so. I wish the classrooms had seats this comfortable. I can feel my mind wandering as my eyes quickly scan the room, distracted by all the small changes since I last came. Alrighty, so what brings you here? I haven't seen you in the office often, so I assume your house been good so far? Well, mostly. I see you. His smile drops as I trail off. I feel slightly guilty about it. It's these moments where I can't rationally call myself normal that makes me so reluctant to see the nurse. They're an admission that I'm different from everyone else. Well, I was on a trip during the long weekend and I had a few problems with my heart. He hums very seriously and nods as he does so, urging me to go on. I think it was as I was walking a fairly long distance. I think the right term for it is a heart flutter. I suddenly went weak at the knees and felt almost like it was a small heart attack, but it passed in about half a minute, even afterward though. I felt pretty fatigued and nauseous. Not good at all. That was how many days ago exactly? Did you do anything unusual aside from exerting yourself before the episode? Were you taking your medication probably? The nurse switches from an awkward jokester to serious health professional mode, rattling off questions, making notes, and calling up stuff on his computer. I tell him about my forgetting to take my pills that morning and the preceding evening. It was a stupid thing to do, but I can't change anything about it now except answer honestly and bite the bullet. The serious evolves into a frown, and the talk evolves into an instant checkup. I finish buttoning up my shirt and again get motion to take a seat in front of the nurse. Is this the first heart problem you've had since coming to Yamaku? I've had short pains in my chest before, just a couple of times, but they were more discomfort than anything like this. Leans back in my chair, briefly resembling a white-coated Poirot, as he mulls over the mysterious case of my heart flutter. Moving his lips from side to side to show he's thinking, his non-existent mustache wiggling, he eventually comes to a conclusion. Well, if you survived it, that's always on the plus side. I blink at this one. Then I notice the nurse wearing his got you face. It's actually somewhat reassuring. I don't think he would crack jokes if things were really serious, so I keep silent and take my lumps. I'll have a talk with your doctor, but right now I suspect you simply due to physical exertion. But you've been keeping up a regular light exercise like it directed you to? I make sure to walk a reasonable amount every day. It's usually enough to work up a bit of a sweat, but then again, I'm not really sure as fit as I used to be. That'd be enough then. The main thing to keep in mind is to do regular low-stress exercise, not short bursts of sprinting and such. I understand. Since leaving the hospital, I've been a lot more focused on my studies, partly to take my mind off not being able to do more physical things. It's good to hear you're coping well. Sudden lifestyle changes can be hard at the best of times, so I'm pleased to hear that you sound like you had everything in order. Almost everything, that is. Nevertheless, I want to keep a close eye on you for a while, just an observation's sake, just to make sure things aren't going downhill, you understand? That's something I really didn't want to hear. Since coming to Yaku, all I've wanted to do is live a normal life as possible. Observation was one of the words I came to hate most during my hospital stay. For so long I felt as if I could have just walked straight out of the hospital doors, if not for the observation the doctor wanted so dearly. Sure, should I come in more often? He checks the calendar next to his computer, which seems to inflict on him a nasty case of furrowed brow. He spins back towards me after that. The summer holiday are a bit of pain, considering the timing. I'll check with your doctor to try and get a better handle on the situation and see how he wants to proceed. but I think you should just take things slow and carefully for now. What you're describing doesn't immediately sound like a recurring event, but it wouldn't hurt you to slow down a bit for a while, just to make sure. What should I do for today? He looks over my shoulder at a clock hanging over the door. I never had noticed it if I hadn't followed his gaze. It's nearly time for school to be over, so you may as well leave early. He gives a sly wink, making sure that I understand he's doing me a favor. Well, nurse's orders, thanks. That's what I'm here for, after all. I know you might not want this, but you can't ignore your condition. Don't hesitate to see me if you have any further problems, or if you just have anything you want to ask. Bye. He spins around and gets back to typing on the computer in front of him. I suppose I'll just read before waiting for Lily to by the gate. Considering I don't have much else to do. Even as I leave, his words echo my mind. My condition isn't something as limiting as many of the others here in Imaku. I want to burden Lily with thinking about it. I just live life normally and avoid any short, sharp shocks, and it should be okay. I won't let my condition rule me. Lily comes into view soon after the bells heralding the end of the school day ring out. She says farewell to a number of her classmates headed into the other direction, before beginning her weekly trip to a convenience store. Afternoon, Lily. An immediate warm smile and relaxed demeanor she assumes upon noticing my presence are unexpectedly welcoming. Hello, Sal. Good afternoon to you, too. She hesitates for a second, but eventually deigns to tilt her face toward and close her eyes. My lips meet hers with a measure of slight trepidation before we move off her hand. The fact that we are so close in height is somewhat unusual at times. There being no need for either of us to turn our head upward nor downward in our order to meet the others. It doesn't take much time to leave the noise of the other students far behind us, and tapping of Lily's cane in her free hand, the only sound to be heard. Silence, blissful silence, is all that greets us while we slowly walk the setting sun's light. I think I'm coming to really like this town. The huge green hilly expanse, the trees everywhere, the somewhat rustic little buildings. So you've come to appreciate the tranquility of it as well. I think so. I came for a metropolitan area, or a city near Tokyo. So the quiet of the town really alienated me when I first arrived. After a while it became really nice though. I think I prefer it to the hustle and bustle of my home city now. Hustle and bustle, they say that a lot too. Like heralding, they say that. I prefer the quiet of such a rural town, even when I first arrived. I suppose I had the advantage of growing up on a quiet area before I came. Hanako said the surroundings are very pretty too. Lily may say such thing quite easily, but each time she mentions how others describe sights around her are as beautiful or pretty, I feel a little put off. I notice her expression becoming one of anticipation for some question or another. She always has a good sense for when somebody is not saying something that's on their mind, so I might as well speak up. I was wondering, how to put this. Do you ever regret that you can't see what things look like for yourself? It's just something I've been thinking about. She thinks carefully for a time. Do you ever regret that you can't hear people whispering on the other side of the room? I can only speak for myself, but the fact that I can't see is the only way I've experienced life. Just as I cannot do something you can. You can't do something that I'm capable of. The fact that the world is made for those who are sighted can be a pain sometimes, but there are many, many people who suffer much more than I become of the way the world is. That does make sense, but still, it just feels kind of bad to describe things, something that you can't experience to you. She tilts her head quizzically, as if I just said something that makes very little sense at all. But I can experience it. You just said it yourself that you like the area because of the way the surroundings are. I like this area for the same reason. Thanks to the fact that there is a small rustic town surrounded by trees. It gives some peace and quiet away from the din of school and the bustle, not to mention the smell of the city. I suppose it would also be much like the home she shared with Akira as well. Her outlook on it seems pretty sensible, but I'm not surprised that she got a much better handle on a particular condition than I do on mine. Just like how we're coming from a location somewhat similar to Imaku's surroundings and let it become more acclimatized in a shorter time, being born blind affected her stance by her own admission. I should stop being so annoyed with myself over it, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm dependent on Lily far too much given the circumstances most have had to deal with in Imaku. That makes a lot of sense, but you're pretty good at explaining, as always. Come to think of it, where's Hanako anyway? She was with us for lunch. It seems she's been busy studying. The exams are far from over, and she's said she wants to do better this year than the last. While I admire her work ethic, she's really been trying to give us a lot of room alone recently. She's that type of person, I think. The kind that puts others' needs above her own at every chance. She's a sweet girl, even though she must have hurt her in the past. I don't know. It feels like it's only now that where she's less close to me than ever that she's truly finding herself. It was thanks to you that she began to become more confident after all, not me. I take my hand from her and gently place it on her head. The important thing is that you were there for her. I can't even imagine where she'd be without you having someone like you. That much became obvious while you were in Scotland. We're all still friends, so we've got to have faith in her. I think she'll become a good person, and that much is thanks to you being there for her when she most needed it, just as you were there for me. It makes me feel a bit childish when you sound so wise. Well, I try. Are you doing anything on the weekend by any chance? Nothing that comes to my mind. Why? Then how about a date on Sunday? Ooh, maybe something to do besides exam preparation. Damn. That was nice. Countering my rapidly beating heart, she simply smiles and nods. That would be lovely. Well, where would you like to go? Her face only changes to one of disapproval. You can't do that, Isao. That's cheating. Do what? A gentleman should never ask a lady where to have a date. Ah. Okay. Her smile quickly comes back, assuring me that she's far from serious. Don't worry about it. I think we'll have... Well, I'll think about where we could go. I'll leave it to you then. I promise to decide on the next date, though. With our plans for the next weekend, the rest of the week down the hill continues in silence. The prospect of the lasting for any length of time, however, is shattered as I catch a sight of a familiar figure waiting for us, her hand held high. Oh, yo. Thank you, please come again. The change in temperature as I step outside from the convenience store sends a chill up my spine. It feels like summer's starting to wind down. Looking to my side, the same feeling seems to affect Lily as well. Though, unlike me, she doesn't manage to hide the fact. Something I didn't realize at first at how physically delicate she is, even compared to the likes of Hanako. If I had to describe her, I'd have to say she reminded me of a China doll. Akira walks behind her and gives her a couple hard pats on the shoulder, much to Lily's concentration. For a moment, or consternation. For a moment she looks as envious at my status as an only child as I am of their close relationship. They talk between themselves for a few moments as I sort out my bags. Their voice is too low for me to catch, but eventually they break off and we begin to walk back to the school. I feel it's good to be out of the that damned office. You kids don't know how good you have it here. Kids. You too, then. Kids grow up so fast nowadays. You're not old enough to say that. I don't know, being around Hideki makes me feel damned old. He's so precautious. He reminds me of when you were younger. He's a nice boy. It'd be a shame if Shizune comes to have too much of an influence on him. Akira gives an amused snort at her sister's antipathy. She really doesn't seem to regard it as anything to make a serious fuss about, treating it more like a childhood spat. She looks over to me, apparently only just remembering that I'm here, and gives a small grin. She reaches towards her back pocket. What is it? Just a sec, let me dig it out. After quite some difficulty, she manages to retrieve her black leather wallet from her back pocket, quickly fishing out what looks to be a folded square of paper. With Lily all but unaware of what's happening, Akira unfolds the strap and hands it to me. What? An old photo of what looks to be a younger Lily and Shizune operating a noodle stall with some other girl in the background. She looks vaguely familiar, but I can't quite pinpoint why. I wonder who that girl in the middle is. Also, this is a pretty cute picture. What is it, Akira? I think you know. Lily mulls over this for a few moments before realization dawns on her. Akira, you really need... It's fine, isn't it? Besides, it's like the only photo I have of you two since you entered Yamaku, where you're not at each other's throats. I look back down on the photo in my hand. It does seem strange to see Lily and Shizune working together so diligently without any sign of animosity. If the photos of them during Yamaku Festival, that means it must have been taken 1 or 2 years ago. In other words, the time when you were both in the student council together. Who's the girl in the back? She looks kind of familiar. I knew you wouldn't recognize her. It's Misha, before she went and dyed her hair pink. That's... Misha? No way. It feels extremely strange to see Misha without her so very distinctive hairstyle, judging from Akira's tone. She doesn't take favorably to Misha's idea of fashion. I suppose the fact she accentuates how odd the situation looks. To think they were so friendly in the past. I wish I could do something to mend their relationship. You've been very quiet, Sal. It just feels kind of strange to see you all so friendly like this. Lily moves to say something, but stops herself. And then, this is a matter for me, isn't a matter for me. It's between Shizune and Lily, and nobody else. Things change, unfortunately. I hand the photo back to Akira, who sighs as she folds it up and slides it back into her wallet. A little memory, quietly hidden away, to be pulled out again some time later. Yeah, they do. Initially, I think Akira's reaction to be simply in response to the situation between Lily and Shizune, but she looks oddly glum compared to what I expect. Lily's expression has clouded as well. What's wrong? It's just that I'll be going to Scotland fairly soon. You're leaving for Scotland again? For a long moment, Akira looks surprised. It's an ill-fitting expression for her. After a glance at Lily, she turns back to me, as if she'd never done so. Yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'll be leaving for Inverness to work at the company's headquarters. It's a pretty big jump in corporate position, and it's not a chance that it's going to come again. So Akira's going to leave Japan on what seems to be a permanent basis. I can't help the feeling that my assumption that we could all happily, while away our days, have fun in the isolated little world is coming to an end. It's unsettling. I look at Lily, mildly surprised that she hasn't told me such a thing despite usually being so forthcoming. She continues to walk with her face fixedly pointed ahead. I can't read her expression, nor can I ever even guess what's on her mind, which is discomforting, given how it's usually easy for me to do both. It reminds me of the time when we met at Shanghai, just before what could be called their first date. At the time, all I could do was comfort her without knowing the cause, and now feels no different. As we finally reach the school dormitories once again, there's somewhat awkward silence. I don't think I'm the only one who feels it. See you tomorrow then, Lily. Bye, Kira. Good night, Isao. See ya. And with that, they walk into the female dormitories. Opening the door to the male dormitories, I stop and look back at them just moments before the figures disappear behind the heavy wooden door. That was a strange moment when Akira said she was leaving. While it wasn't the first time when my thoughts regarding my new life had been called into question, it's perhaps the first time to do it quite so profoundly. I still don't know what makes Akira's reaction, much less what to make of Akira's reaction, much less of Lily's. The night chill reminds me to get back to my room before I catch something, my bags pulling down on my arms with seemingly redoubled weight. There's something else. I have a date with her set up for the weekend. I just need to stop overthinking stuff and get on things as they are. The exams are still ongoing after all, with the trimester ends and summer holidays beginning soon. There'll be plenty to keep me busy for a while. As I give a yawn and retreat inside, my thoughts turn to what Lily will decide to set as a location of our weekend rendezvous. If Akira is moving, where will Lily stay after graduating?